to 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the walls. The chair is against the walls. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's called the Blackberry, and it's another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song. Hey guys, I'm Heather Fox.
And welcome everybody to the Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every day at 7 p.m. Eastern. That's noon, 3 Pacific, 4 Pacific, whatever time it is Pacific. And we come for about an hour and 90 minutes each day. We do 3 gun-related topics, different topics throughout the week. We run it live on YouTube, and we simulcast it over at gunchannels.com. So we're watching the live comments from everybody coming in, watching live. And every once in a while, we'll take the audio and post that on iTunes as a podcast. So we encourage anybody who might be listening to the show now or in the future to give us some feedback and let us know what platform you're listening on, how you like the show, leaving comments and ratings on the various shows should help the shows get recommended to more listeners. So we do appreciate that favor. There's 4 hosts. 3 of us are here today. We got Bob jumping in from Canada. Thanks for joining.
Hey, glad to be here.
That's Maggie jumping in from Michigan, I think.
Hey, how's everyone doing today?
And I'm down here in Arizona. So we're starting a little bit late. Sorry about that. Kind of messed up the schedule here a little bit, but we're back on track. So let's see. We're on episode number 350. It's Friday, so we'll be doing the alternative topics and tech. And so we'll be talking about accessories for plinking. We'll be talking about what to do when your gun company does anti-gun stuff and securing your home. So, of course, all of our stuff that we do on a daily basis as well. Before we dig into it, though, we always take a break at the beginning of the show, see if anything happened overnight or if anything's worth talking about.
I saw something recently. I believe Knives posted the link earlier, but Ohio has a thing where if you have a CCW, a bunch of like gun-free zones won't apply to you, and I believe that's going to include schools. It passed. I forget if it's the House or Senate. It passed. It's halfway through, so it passed on one side, and now it's going over to the other side. And I believe that just happened yesterday. So,
that's good news.
Yeah, I'm all for that kind of stuff. That's cool. It's a step in the right direction for sure. So, and especially once they see, oh, nothing bad happened when we did that, like maybe we can go a little bit further.
Yeah, it's like, well, maybe not baby steps, but it's steps in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, when kids aren't, I'm worried about like the kids, when they figure out that guns aren't kept out of places like that, then they won't feel like guns are as dangerous, and they won't be afraid of them as much. And then they'll grow up and they won't be as easily manipulated.
Misled.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, when people are saying stuff, you know, like, oh, we need, like, gun-free zones because guns are scary or whatever. And they're like, really? Because my neighbor carried a gun when they dropped us off at school or whatever, and he never did anything bad. Like, I don't see what the problem is.
Well, then that kid's going to end up being a free thinker, and they're not just going to listen. So that's one of my concerns.
Oh, yeah, it is harder to control people when they think for themselves.
Yeah, very true. That's one of the reasons that the media likes to manipulate.
Speaking of manipulating, it's episode 350.
Yeah, it sure is.
350.
What's the significance of that?
I don't know. Anything else happen? I was just going to dig into the show since we're running.
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, oh, yeah, this is cool, something to do with 350. So,
well, you take 350 and you add up the numbers, that's 7, and then you subtract the 3, that's 4. Or wait a minute, if you add them up, it's 8, and if you subtract the 3, it's 5. That's not all that interesting, I guess. All right, so.
But what if you subtract 4?
Then it's interesting again. Now we're back to 4 again.
Yeah, and then you add a 0, and that's 40. So that's a good caliber.
Good number. It's really close.
Please, 40. Ugh.
Hey, Bob, I'm not a huge 40 guy either. I just figured that's where G-Webs was going with that.
Probably where he was going with it, although he
just
does
went
like
there
45 better now.
It just went there naturally using math. I can't be responsible for that.
Yeah.
All right, so I don't know where we're at. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I just literally woke up. I passed out. It's super hot here, and thanks, Maggie, for setting everything up. So I guess we're gonna get into the show. It is gun tech accessories for plinking, long range, and hunting. I think your number one accessory for all those things is, or is there a number one?
Body scope.
Sling.
I was gonna say.
Body scope.
I was gonna say a sling, but I guess for old early people, you need your eyes are going bad. Probably need a scope, some kind of optical enhancement.
Yeah, no, and I know you're a big fan of just get a $50 scope or whatever is close enough, right?
Anything, as long as it looks like a scope from the outside, then you're probably going to be just as good. Anything else, you're paying for the pony.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah,
just
I
If people didn't catch that, that's
you can take a toilet paper tube and paint it black and glue it up there with some hot glue. That's way cheaper than buying a scope. And it
that's
was
nice. But yeah, obviously we're joking.
I've actually seen G-Web shoot with open sights, and yeah, he doesn't really need a scope anywhere out to 200 yards anyway. But I kind of like a scope because when you get older and you need reading glasses, that scope alleviates the problem of with your glasses on, your sights are nice and sharp. But you can't see your target or it's fuzzy. With your glasses off, your sights are fuzzy, but your target's sharp. So that's a problem. So, but if you put a scope on, you can adjust the scope so that you've got a nice clear picture of your target as that's focused. It helps older eyes, believe me. Even if it's just a 2.5 power or something, makes a big difference.
Well, we're talking about accessories for plinking, long range, and hunting, so that's obviously all longer range stuff. So I do think a sling is important, more important probably, just because it's more useful. But then the next thing would obviously be an optic.
Yeah.
What about bipods? You guys into bipods? Or just sandbag?
That's what I was gonna just mention too. Yeah, I think a bipod's pretty key.
They're nice, but they are heavy.
They don't have to be.
Yeah, I know. I've got some aluminum ones, aren't too bad, but I mean, a really good solid one, like something you put on an M14 kind of designated sniper rifle or designated marksman's rifle kind of thing. You're laying that gun down. And mind you, you're starting with a heavy gun.
Yeah, see, I don't think Bob's been playing with all the accessories out there. Harris are what most everybody uses, and they're aluminum tubes. I mean, they add, I guess, some weight, but not much. They're not like those Chinese things that are solid steel for the inner tube, like leg, and then a steel sheet around it. These are just all aluminum with some springs, and super handy. Spring down or spring back up, so they stay in place. In other words, they kind of lock. There's spring tension on them all the time, so they stay in the up position, they stay in the down position, they extend really fast, or they retract really fast, I guess. But
well, the thing is, if you're just plinking at long range, then weight's not going to be an issue, right? Because you're probably driving up to your shooting bench or whatever at the range, and then you're setting up, and
probably
that's where it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I agree that there are plenty of them that work just fine that are nice and lightweight.
That's the thing. I've owned plenty of heavy, junky ones for SKSs and stuff because it was cool, I guess. It was an accessory to buy back in the day. There weren't as many accessories a long time ago. So anyway, I bought plenty of those, and they didn't cost me $50 or something. But then owning just a couple of nice ones, and they fit on the sling mount. Harris will just fit on your sling mount up front. So you can, again, transfer that between guns. It's not like it's a major investment. They're maybe $70 or something. They're not inexpensive, but they're not like outrageous. But anyway, they're super lightweight, and for plinking, half the time we're walking somewhere where we're plinking a little bit at least.
Yeah, I mean, something like that, it does make a big difference.
And if you're putting on a kid's gun or something, you don't want to make it too heavy, so it's just annoying for them.
Yeah.
But I guess the alternative is sandbags. Anybody have sandbags that they bring around or leave someplace?
Yep, I have.
I don't. I mean,
Well,
when I do plinking up north, like, you know, I just bring out like a folding table or whatever. That's my shooting bench, and I just use my range bag. You know, it's soft, and I sometimes have to like move some stuff around and just kind of make a little divot to set the gun in. But for what I do, it works okay. I also don't shoot super long range though, at least not yet.
I just like taking, well, for me, if my pants would wear out, I would cut the pants off at the knees underneath the cargo pockets, and then take the bottom of the BDUs, and you just sew the one side and then put Velcro on the other side. And I live in the desert, so all you got to carry around is the bag part. You can make a sandbag as full or as, you know, any way you want it. And then you just dump it out and carry around the bag.
yeah, see, that's a good idea. I mean, I have the ones that, you know, you buy at the gun shop that are, you know, made to be a rifle rest, and they're basically a sandbag, but, you know, more square.
Yeah, that's the thing. Buy them, they got like leather shape to them, and they're in the sand, but they're substantial by themselves, really.
Oh yeah. The thing is, they're a pain in the butt to haul around, and you never take them with you because it's just more crap to haul with the range, right?
Well, it's
I make tiny ones that are stuffed with like stuffed animal stuff, so they don't weigh anything, and then they almost like attach to your rifle. You can put them just so you got like a stock, someplace to fill that stock when you're on a table or on the ground or whatever, I guess.
That's an idea. You could refill mine with lighter stuff.
so I saw something recently, and I don't remember.
Oh, you know what they're filled with? Sorry, they're filled with things that are in a hacky sack. Those little clear rice.
Oh,
Oh, those
you
little
know,
bead
for
things.
a bean bag. Yeah,
But
that's-
they don't accept water, so if they get sopping wet, they're the size of a sandbag, but they don't accept any water, so they don't get any heavier really when they're wet.
Right.
But so what I was gonna say, I don't know the name of this product, but it looked like it was like a foam block that was kind of cut, like kind of into an X. There were like different size notches on the four sides. So it was a rectangle, and then there's triangles cut out on all four sides at like different depths. And then it was like a hard foam type of thing.
High density foam, probably. That's a good idea.
Yeah, it looked pretty neat because then you set it up for whatever you're doing, and then it.
So Hans was saying, ironically, that he's going to throw some jeans away. You never throw jeans away. You can trade those with Russians for vodka.
That's true.
Seek out jeans.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how wore out they actually. The Japanese, if they're really wore out Levi's or any of those brand name, they'll pay big dollars for them. They're crazy over
there. So anyway, other accessories. Logbook.
I like, and when I was saying scope, I mean a spotting scope. Like you got your own little tripod.
Oh, now you're changing your story.
No. I mean, because the other scope is also essential for older eyes, but a spotting scope makes it really easy that you don't have to run to the target all the time to check how, you know, what your group's looking like and stuff. You're shooting at a target.
And I think I paid $50 once for like one off a Sportsman's Guide or something, just some little stupid thing they made with like a little tiny tripod and a little stupid kitty bag that it comes in. That thing lasted me for a while, but then you know how they like got a rubber overmold sometimes on them, like that glitched out in the sun and the heat and everything got all weird. So then, where did I get it? Somehow or another, I got an old, you know, you ever seen what they use for like the military spotting scopes when they're doing military shooting sports? They're like really super heavy duty, and they got like metal caps over the lenses and stuff. I got that for like $50 off of somebody, and it's built like a tank. Like you literally drive a truck over it, and it's fixed focus at whatever it is. But yeah, that's super handy because you got like a little tripod. You get really heavy tripods for those. You can set them down and not have to stick with them. Basically, you don't have to worry about them falling over. And then no matter what you're shooting or how many people are shooting, you got one optic. Like Bob said, you don't have to keep walking down range. You can go see where your hits are, or even better yet, while you're shooting, somebody else can be watching and telling you where your hits are.
Yeah,
I think
that's really handy. That's what they're really made for.
And you're not comfortable moving optics, then invest in that in a spotting scope first, and then shoot your irons until you really want to start going optics, because a spotting scope can save you a lot of water.
Are you saying just duct tape a spotting scope to the top of your rifle?
No, because every crosshairs or nothing. They're just really a binocular, except one half of binocular, really.
A monocular.
Yeah.
Kinda. They're just
now, good binoculars are also really handy to have in your shooting bag. Even a cheap, like kind of small pair that are just always in your shooting bag, and you know they're always going to be there. There's nothing wrong with that. They don't have a huge amount of magnification, but it's a hell of a lot better than just trying to see where you're hitting, even if you're shooting like pistol at 50 feet or something. Because 22s sometimes it's really hard to see where you're hitting on just a plain target, not one that makes the big marquee thing.
Yeah, and you never know. You're going to go to the range, and then it's for whatever reason there's a billion people there, so it's like 20 minutes between sessions or something before you go check a target. Yeah, just a little set of like you're talking about, what costs $20, maybe a gun shop. Almost opera glasses, right? I used to use them when I was fishing all the time too, to see stuff a little farther away, clear, see a bird or something.
Yeah, I always used to have a pair of cheap, like little.
Figure out, depending on how far you go. Now, if it's night strike, none of this applies because he just walks out his door and goes shoot in his backyard or whatever. So if you're like that kind of person, then screw off because you're a jerk. But if you're a regular person that has to drive somewhere to go shooting, then I'd say for plinking and long range, bringing us some toolkits is more vital. Just more stuff needs to be screwed up again, tightened. Just it's more crucial for that stuff. So I'd say, too many times it sucks to go out there. You didn't bring a screwdriver, and that's the one time you're the only guy at the damn range. So there's nobody you can borrow one off of or something. So
yeah, just either one of the screwdrivers with all the different bits, or Allen wrenches are really handy too, because a lot of your scope mounts and a lot of mounts, weapon mounts, use Allen screws, right? So they're that, just a regular screwdriver is not going to help you. So it's really handy to have a set of Allen wrenches.
We're on the outside there. Oh, go ahead, Tony.
Oh, no, you can go ahead.
They're talking about ballistic calculators over there. So, those can be pretty handy, especially if you're getting to the point where, you're trying to record your consistency, so they can be good. Because a lot of times they're log books also. Of course, it takes it to another level. You have to understand what the particulars are and then have it, I guess the app must be able to tell like the variables like your elevation and the type of ammo and the load or whatever, because all that stuff is usually what the calculator needs, and then it tells you your dope, I guess, out at distance so that you can not have to, I guess, calculate it on the fly. That's beyond plinking for most people, and probably beyond hunting unless you're shooting antelope or sheep or something where you really aren't going to get very close to them.
Yeah, and so that I think this probably applies more for hunting than plinking. But what about some type of rangefinder? Or do you think kind of just get used to saying, okay, that's 200 yards, that's 400 yards, like just kind of getting, eyeballing it or whatever. But if you're out hunting, you're hiking a whole bunch or whatever, and you see something, and again, this is like you said, you're doing sheep or elk or something where you sit on the top of one hill and shoot the animal on the top of the other hill and then spend all day walking down and back up to go get it.
Yeah, and people that think they know those distances, I guess it's true for people that have been doing it for a while, but I would normally say that's overkill, and I kind of say it's overkill. On the other hand, I've been out hunting with people who have nice rangefinders, because again, they don't want to spend, these are people that park and then hike for days and then hunt, so they're not near their resupply, so they try to bring what's necessary, and they try to make it as everything has to be as useful as possible. Anyway, they bring around really nice rangefinders, so without even critters out there, just ranging at rocks and stuff, I'm always wrong. Like you say, when you're going from hilltop to hilltop, I'm always wrong. I always think it's like way farther than it actually is usually. So yeah, I could see something like that. Even if, like you say, you figure it out, you go to the same hunting place all the time, you get used to, like, if I'm sitting here and I'm shooting across over there, and I've what do you call that? Lasered that enough to know, that's somewhere between 30 and 40 yards. But if I'm standing over here and I'm shooting to over there, that's more like a 200-yard shot. So if you go out and you do your scouting with one, you might not have to bring it when you go hunting. But yeah, I think that's one of those little cheap devices that can really, really change your game. And I tried to get a cheap golf one. It ain't nothing like a real one. Get a laser one that shoots a laser out to a rock or whatever, comes back and tells you the actual yardage. It's amazing.
Yeah, that makes such a difference to a hunt. Like, it can be the difference between coming home with something and not, because it's so hard.
Stories.
Especially when you're adjusting, when you're trying to judge an animal, because they vary in size. So, you're kind of guessing, okay, an average sized deer would look about that big. So that's got to be around 200 yards. And, it might be a really big buck. So maybe it's a lot farther away. So yeah, you can't always count on your judgment, like you were saying. When you actually go out and that's a good thing to do. While you're out scouting, is take your laser rangefinder and take a look at something and go, I think that's about 250, and then range it, and you'll find that you're not very many people. I'm not gonna say everybody, but not very many people are that good a judge of distance.
No, you know who is the people that own one of them things and do what you're talking about, and they get better at it. But yeah, without some gauge, you just, oh, that's 25 yards. Okay, yeah, sure, it's 25 yards. You think it's 25 yards, and it's really 70 yards.
Yeah, and it really is. It really is that easy to misjudge. So what do you guys think of the mounts that'll put, like, your smartphone? You can then mount the camera on your scope so that you're actually looking at the screen on your phone to aim the gun.
Yeah, we played with some of those. They're better ones and worse ones. The solid ones, though, especially if it's another phone, like it's not your only phone, because then it's just annoying to have a call come in or whatever when it's stuck on your gun. But if it's just a device that you're using to amplify, then yeah, it's kind of neat. I suspect we're going to see changes in going forward where when that technology just gets incorporated into the sights right away. Eye relief when you got a little video screen there. Some people are going to hate that, but some people are going to be loving that whole concept, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because you've got magnification, and it also gives you the ability to record your shots.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think that could be something. I mean, I've seen real simple ones you can make out of plumbing pipes, just like plastic ABS pipes that'll just fit on the end of your scope, on the eyepiece of your scope, and if you build them right, they're okay. But I mean, they shift all the time is the problem, especially if you've got anything that's got recoil.
Yeah, so yeah, you kind of are dancing around. What I just thought of is, the one accessory that I always buy for every gun I have, and that is the tracking point system.
Which is?
Oh, you don't know tracking point? It's a thing where, like, you lock onto a target or whatever, then it only pulls the trigger like once you're where you should be. It was a joke, but the tracking point does record like your shot and stuff. But
you can buy, like, for $50 or something like that, you can buy a set of binoculars that are also a digital camera inside them, right, for people doing bird watching. So I don't think it's going to be that far away before we have scopes. I think there already is, but that it's built in, but it gives you a really nice high resolution screen that's got your aiming, like that's got your reticle on it and everything, so that you're just looking at this nice high resolution screen, and you can change your magnification really easy, and yeah, it's gonna be a game changer, I think.
Well, what would be cool with that is kind of combining some of the technology that we do already have, like they were mentioned earlier, your ballistic calculator type stuff. Could you imagine if there was like I don't know if it'd be like an app or whatever, but like where you put all that information in, right? So it's doing the calculations for you, but then you're also using it to see through your scope. And so it's kind of like the tracking point, but also not the whole thing where it controls the trigger for you. Because I think that's the part that's kind of annoying. But it could give you some pop-up displays or whatever that are a little bit different that could be useful.
No, I've seen scopes where they had like a laser rangefinder built into the scope. So when you put that scope on, the scope's going to give you down on the bottom, it's going to tell you what the yardage to the target is. That's kind of cool. So if you got a BDC on the scope, you can just go, okay, it's 275 yards. Dial. Now you're going to be spot on.
I feel like the ghost of Dano is in here eating ice cream.
Sorry, I just miss him so much. I was trying to be quiet until I got to the end of the bowl.
What's your way to channel Dano? Eat a big thing of ice cream.
There's got to be somebody eating ice cream during the show, right?
Well, I wasn't eating ice cream, but I'm sure it sounded like it. I do apologize. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's not very professional.
I know. That's why I'm apologizing, dude. You don't got to rub my face in it. Like, I'm sorry.
We're still docking your pay. Yeah, we're still going to dock your pay. That's all there is to it.
So I think Smeggy's right. Bringing a big bowl of oatmeal. It's probably a good idea when you're out shooting long range, so you got some carbohydrates in you. But anyway, what about something as simple as like a carpet or a, what do you call them? Shooting
yoga mat. Yeah, yoga mat. You can buy them at the dollar store for like $2. They're foam. They got like gives you some padding. It's not much, but at least the sharp rocks aren't digging into you. Especially good for Smeggy with those bony little elbows. So yeah, it would make a big difference if you're going to lie down and go prone to shoot.
Yeah, I don't agree with the yoga mat thing. There's plenty of shooting mats out there that work better, bigger, because the yoga mat's usually just for somebody sitting there doing exercises on.
Yeah, they're normally pretty narrow. So if you're winged out, like you're going to be off the mat anyways.
And then you also
they work fine for normal sized people. I mean, sure you'd have to buy two, but
but they'd also not collect any of your spent rounds. So I think that's another advantage of them. The big one, the good ones, the fancy ones, will have like a Velcro section. They'll have a place for your logbook to sit in there, and then a lot of times, sometimes they'll wad up into, or they'll kind of fold up into a thing to carry a rifle in too.
Yeah, see something like that. That's great. I'm just talking like I was saying, yoga mats, because you can, like say, buy them at the dollar store for $2. And you throw 2 or 3 of those in the trunk of your car and
fluorescent ink, and then you can do yoga. So you got like 2.
Sometimes I like to do naked yoga before I go shooting. Right? Kind of shocks the other people at the gun range. So
yeah, Bob's just in the parking lot doing that kind of business. There you go. We'll leave it at that then. So there's probably lots of other stuff to talk about. That is kind of a big segment. Anything over a couple of 100 yards is a whole different kind of shooting, no matter what the purpose is. And then each of those purposes probably has its own unique stuff. So if you want us to keep talking about stuff like that, consider joining us tomorrow, which will be Saturday, our scheduling show. The second Saturday of the month, we schedule the show, and we'll take topics from our Patreon supporters and from the audience who's watching. So I don't know. I think that one's probably worth talking about again. Maybe when we put this into the schedule again, we should say like minus the obvious, because we've already talked about it before, and then get into the more weird and unique and strange stuff. So we'll get into the next segment of the day, which will be the gun biz. Let's see. What do you do when a company does anti-Second Amendment stuff? But before we do, we always take a break between the first and second segment of the show each day. We feature one of the members over at Gun Channels. Gun Channels is a place we built. It's a community, and it's focused on firearms. There's lots of people that hang out over there and do all different kinds of things. And if you're interested in guns and chatting with other people that are interested in guns, we encourage you to check it out. It's completely driven by the membership. That's why we feature the members each day on the show. And today it's Ohio, 45 ACP. We see out there in the chat quite a bit. Let's see if he's out there right now. Of course, not right now, but involved quite a bit. I think he's actually jumped into chats before, just not on the regular, and definitely a regular contributor. So again, when we built Gun Challenge, we didn't know how people are going to use it. It sort of developed over the years into the way people use it now, and Ohio's one of the people using it all the time. So thanks for doing it.
For sure, he's a good guy too. I've talked to him in text because I think I've been in a couple chats. So, yeah, nice guy.
So he's not one of the sons of bitches. Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, no, he's not one of the sons of bitches.
Yeah,
they all know who I think they are.
I have to say, even though he's from Ohio, like I don't really hold that against him. He's okay. I am actually hoping to meet up with him next week. I'll be in the area for work, and depending on how it goes, if I end up having a half day or something, so we're not we're waiting for something to get done, I'm gonna hit him up and try and meet up somewhere halfway between the two of us, go shooting.
Cool.
Oh, Pants, you're so sad. We're not talking about you. I hold it against you that you're from Ohio. And Pink Panther.
All right. So what do we do when a gun company does anti-Second Amendment efforts?
I'm boycotting this topic.
Yeah, I don't think I'm not going to pay for anything here. Well, shame them and you let everybody know about it, right? And then that way, the next time some company thinks they can just do whatever they feel like, they go, "Oh, wait a minute, I'm not doing this in silence. I'm doing this in front of a bunch of people who are jerks, and they're going to say everything about it on the internet." I mean, that's what happens.
Well, and I think that's our real power in that situation. Is that what we do is we hit them where it hurts, which is number one in the pocketbook. So we boycott them, like Smeggy was saying. But number two, I mean, we do spread the word and let people know, like when they go, "Oh, this is a great company," you go, "Well, no, actually it isn't. And this is why." So you can let people know what they've done. And, it still doesn't mean like they can make amends. They can go, "Oh, we screwed up. So now we're going to give some money to the NRA and we're not going to do that again." And make an apology. And, you can maybe trust them again until they do something else. But I mean, our real power is in the pocketbook, is in not spending money with a company that does not respect the Second Amendment. And I think that everyone should do that. But some people don't know, so you have to spread the word.
So it offends us, I guess, because they're a Second Amendment company. What about the companies that are out there that aren't the gun companies, that are like your Pepsis and your, I don't know, Frito-Lay? I don't know, they're the same company. Some company out there that's just a big company, and then turns out that they spend a lot of money with Bloomberg or some shit. Do we do the same on that stuff? Am I forgetting about it?
No, I think any company that is in bed with the enemy, we have to hold accountable and hold their feet to the fire for sure.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody explore like where the big companies spend their money. Maybe they do around election times to say like who's a Republican company, who's a Democrat company.
That'd be interesting if somebody actually did that. Found out where these companies stand and where they're spending their dollars. Because ultimately, the dollars that they're spending, if we're buying products from them, those are our dollars. So, you don't want to spend money that's going to end up in the pockets of people like Bloomberg or any of those other anti-human right people.
So what other efforts? What to do? So contacting the company, I suppose, letting them know that you're not satisfied and you're a customer, or you're not a customer. You won't be now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let them know that you were a customer, but because of their anti-Second Amendment stance, you no longer will be.
That's a good point. You do want to let them know why. If you just go, "I don't like you anymore," well, because it's Tuesday or because you fell on you or something, like what do you?
If you had one of the products that wasn't good, you got to let them know that it's because of your stance on Second Amendment or any kind of gun rights issues, and tell them that you will no longer be spending money, your hard-earned money, on their products.
Right. Something that we've done in the past, especially with the Every Second Matters thing, since we make the patches, which have Velcro on them, and then we don't make hats really, and we don't sell hats on the Spreadshirt, I don't think. At least we didn't in the beginning. So we would recommend some places to buy hats. So in a way, it's not that these places were anti-second. It's just that I don't like buying stuff from other countries if I don't have to. So we recommended 3 places that made hats in the United States that were under $20. And by advertising those 3, we were basically effectively saying, don't bother with the $19 one that's made in Vietnam or the $17 one that's made in Hong Kong or something. Like, buy these $17, $19 ones that are made in like Seattle or something.
Well, I just think that's a good principle to stand on anyway. As any good citizen, you should try buy products that are made in your own country. Why? Like, it just makes sense to support your fellow workers. Well, that kind of sounds socialist, but truly, I mean, if people around you don't have a job, there's it ain't good for the economy. So what if you got to pay $1 more? What's $1 these days? Not much.
So Clover saying on the YouTube on Gunshot side, let them know you're unhappy. That's step 1. Companies are run by people. People make mistakes. In my opinion, should be allowed an opportunity to make it right. Assuming they stick to anti-second, then a boycott is in order. So that's a good point. At what point do you let up on them? If they make a mistake, are you never buying from them again? They only have an opportunity to make one mistake with you? Or is it, I don't know, do they have to do something the other way?
I think that's kind of what the point I was making is that, you know, they do have a right, you know, they do have you should give them a chance to make things right with, you know, maybe an apology to gun owners, whether it's just something that they send out to people on their mailing list, or, you know, make a real statement and make a real donation to a Second Amendment group that's going to do something, you know, that at least equals the damage they've done. And then, yeah, give them another chance. I have no problem with giving somebody a second chance.
So we're talking about a gun company does anti-second efforts. There's a gun company called NSSF, National Shooting Sports. Is that what it's called? National Shooting Sports Foundation, right? Anyway, they're the people that host the SHOT Show, and they consider themselves Second Amendment advocates when they're not doing the SHOT Show, which they need to shut up and just worry about the SHOT Show. But they keep doing this one that I'll continue to bitch about. In fact, I'm going to go see if I can find it. That I think is anti-gun, honestly. I think it's wasted effort, and they're not a business or nothing. I guess they are technically a business.
They're kind of like what do you call that?
They're an industry representative.
Yeah, I almost said lobbyist, but I don't know that they necessarily lobby stuff. They're just they're for the industry. They collect information and stuff about companies or whatever.
Yeah, they facilitate stuff, and they're a watchdog for the industry. Let me see if we can find the video.
Well, while you're looking for that, I did want to mention something earlier. I was muted there for a second, but you were talking about like other companies, you know, like does Pepsi do anti-gun stuff or whatever, that type of thing. I can say from like what I see is most companies, especially if it's not related to guns, they don't even want to touch the issue. Like they just want your money, you know? So like when some of the open carry stuff got brought up, like, oh, like these people are banning open carry now, and everyone got all pissed off at whatever. And then other people that were like, yeah, we follow the law of the state. And everyone's like, look, these guys are pro-gun, and they're all going to open carry in there. And it's like, that kind of backfired, in my opinion. But yeah, companies don't want to have to make a stance. And I think like gun companies are about the only ones that have a vested interest in making a stance, so that's why they do it. But you're not going to see Frito-Lay donating to the NRA or something, or Bloomberg. I don't think they go either way. They just want to make you fat and take your money.
Well, and that might be something that I would maybe really like to see someone do, is do the research on what companies, like, major companies are doing, like spending their dollars with people like Bloomberg and other anti-rights groups like that. And, a list of those would be nice. I mean, I think there's enough firearms owners that care that if they were given, a list of, these are companies that you don't want to go to because of this, right? And if they were told that, I think that could make a real impact on a lot of those companies. And it might make an impact on the whole, our industry on a whole. And then they realize that, this is a huge block of people who can be effective at boycotting.
Right. Even though boycotting is only the first step, the real step is getting the law itself changed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know Tony's out there, saying a whole bunch of stuff about it's not boycotting is not activism, and
no, it isn't.
I agree with him on this aspect when he said something like, these people that would be like, they call for a boycott and then do nothing else, and they're satisfied. They're like, well, I did something, and that's I think the part that now I'm putting words in his mouth, so I'll put words in my own mouth. That's the part I think where boycotting is not super effective, is because people just go, well, I didn't buy from that company, I'm done for the day. What's on TV?
Well, and that's true. And I want to make it clear. I'm not suggesting that boycotting is all you should do. I'm suggesting that's one of the first steps. But I mean, the other steps that you want to follow through on is sending the company an email, even a letter. Written letter is even better. But anyway, like making it known to the company that they are not going to get your hard-earned dollars because of what they're doing. Make them aware that they're shooting themselves in the foot, anti-freedom, or by donating money to anti-freedom groups or anti-human right groups like that. Because I mean, that's, as far as I'm concerned, the right of self-defense is a human right.
So Raphael makes a good point out there that you could be taking that time to write to the people who are responsible for writing anti-gun laws, and that's a good point. That you only have X amount of time in your life to spend on stuff, and is a faux pas by a company, worth all your attention. I guess it depends on how offended you are by the issue that's at hand or whatever, or how big of I guess how much it's being ignored. I mean, if everybody knows about it, like the Springfield and Rock River thing, then I don't know, and not everyone necessarily needs to spend all the rest of the time harping on it. We all know about it. But if it's some little thing that's happening that nobody knows about, then it's almost obligation to squawk about it, right? Until people find out.
Right. And that's like a like a Dick's Sporting Goods or something, where they still sold ARs or whatever. They just like put them behind the counter, like where you couldn't see. You had to like ask for them or whatever. That's like a small thing that's just like, yo, we still want your money, but yeah, guns are scary or whatever. And that's, yeah, I didn't like when they did that either. But I don't know if as many people know about that as know about, like you said, like Springfield or Ruger or any of those that have been kind of big things in the past.
So, William, that brings up a good point. When do you let things end? Because Ruger isn't even alive, and that was a long time ago. But there's a lot of people that are still, and that's an issue with them. William brings up on the YouTube side, gun owners should start being, I don't know, that is with companies, as well as letting companies know how brand loyal they are. Is this his point? NASCAR was only beer and tobacco until companies began to realize how brand loyal their fans are. So, I don't know. I'm guessing he's saying, like, if they're going to advertise food and other things on NASCAR, then that was an evolution of them realizing how much influence we have, and how many, when there's choices out there, how important it is for them to keep us happy with their brands. So in a capitalist society, right, we need to it can't just be assumed that we have the power of the consumer. We have to sometimes you let them know. Bark.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have no way of knowing that we're upset unless we tell them. Really.
And as much as a boycott is an activism, a boycott, I suspect, Springfield and Rock River Arms, who are the two fronts of the latest one, are feeling that. I don't know very many people that were planning on buying either of those guns anyway, but I think a lot of people were persuaded not to and went, other ways, and I'm sure those companies are feeling it. So I think they know why, but if everyone just, I don't know, a large audience of people just decided, oh, we're not going to shop at so and so anymore because of something, and then no one really did anything except walk away, then that's going to be pretty tough for that company to steer, to make corrections in their
Right. They might just be like, oh, I guess they don't like
color blue or
yeah,
something, and
exactly.
make that. Yeah.
Yeah, because their marketing departments, I mean, any big corporation, their marketing departments keep really close tabs on sales. And if they see a dip that is happening at the same time as they've made some decision, they look at that and go, look, this cost us money. I mean,
if they put two and two together, they might not.
They watch that very carefully.
Yeah, but again, that, like I said, they could make a false connection of being like, oh, that's the same time that we, like you said, introduced the blue one. I guess people really hate blue, or that's when we put out a new, advertising campaign that showed people playing tennis. I guess no one likes tennis, or like whatever the thing is, right?
And that's where, that's where even if it's only one in a couple of thousand people write them a letter saying, I'm not buying because of this, that they're going to go, because all that, they correlate all that information. I mean, that's how corporations work.
Well, anybody who's doing anything you don't even have to write a letter anymore. You just go to their post and make a comment, and they see enough comments, they know what the deal is. Like you say, only 1 out of 1,000 really has to vocalize it. They'll get the point real quick.
Yeah, and they understand that for every comment they get, there's another, so many thousands of people who feel that way who just haven't bothered to comment.
Well, and let's keep in mind that we're talking about this because it's a subject on a show, and a show that has 3 segments of a day, and then we have 5 days a week, so there's like something like 15 segments, maybe a couple of fewer than that throughout the week, because we're diverse and we can pay attention to more than one thing. Tony, I understand that you have a real problem with boycotting, but it's not as though people are boycotting and then walking away and then worrying about, I don't know, fishing for the rest of their life. There's quite a few gun advocates that are going to boycott and then carry on and do all the other things that you're suggesting they should be doing instead of boycotting. So I don't think we're talking about someone who's only doing one thing. We're just talking about this as a subject, and it takes about a moment to decide not to buy a Rock River Arm or a Springfield, and then maybe an hour or two BS about it on the internet with friends, and then you go on with your life and you do all the other stuff you're talking about. We talk about politicians and stuff, and I think you're right that the same techniques, the same strategies that we would use against a gun company that does something anti-Second Amendment would work on a politician. In a lot of ways, they're dealing with the same dynamics. They want to have an audience, or what do you call it, a voting public that is happy with them. And you can't just vote for a politician. It's always a good idea to send an email that says, this is why I'm not voting for you. I don't like your gun stance. So go ahead and keep all your other stances, change your gun stance, and let's talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing is, I don't think, boycotting is not if we boycott, then everything's good, then we don't have to do anything else. I mean, that's not, that's not what any of us are saying. We're saying it is it can be an effective tool But it's only one tool in your whole toolbox. You got to remember that, right?
Now, there's been a couple of them. I mean, we're talking about right now and you're right, Bob, it's just one item. And it's something that honestly, it's like a screwdriver, something we use probably a lot and then throw it back in the toolbox because it's, just a simple tool and we keep going with other tools for other things. But we're talking about the one from Illinois right now because that's hot on the press or whatever. But I can think of quite a few of them over the years where people have got offended by something a company's done. And sometimes it's a product or something. But Clover was saying the thing with boycotting is that unless these boycotts are organized and of great size, it usually makes no difference. And then you get new gun people and those easily forget. Well, let's talk about the store that shall not be named, right? 2013 brought a lot of clamor. There was everybody who was even thinking about creating firearm content jumped on board and did their firearms related content. And that meant there was a lot of time spent talking about gun stuff online. And one of the things that happened in that same time frame was Cheaper Than Dirt went weird. And I guess thought they lived in a vacuum, did a bunch of weird stuff that offended pretty much everybody. And then, the repercussions are still out there. You still see ripples from that. So I agree with you that they probably would be more effective if they were organized in a great size. But I don't think that's necessary at all. I think that they can achieve great size without organization much more than just I don't know if you call, the trends on Facebook or Instagram or something, organization. But I've seen, we've seen a bunch of them come and go over the years, and not so many of them go, really. I mean, if we really sat down and did a topic on it, we could come up with, I bet you, a bunch of companies that did stupid things and are still hearing about it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And I doubt any of those were really an organized, somebody like a competitor, somebody saying, let's sit down and take them out with a big media push. It's almost like when something goes viral, sometimes it's just going to happen. And a company has to be held responsible, right? They got to take responsibility, I should say, for doing something really stupid. We like to think we all would, if we did something stupid, that we would stand up for it. And most of these companies do. But, with the age of social media, you can't really put something up there and it gets hidden. Except for NSSF. People don't care about NSSF so much.
Yeah, did you ever find what it was you were talking about there?
No, and I don't really want to rag on them. But basically, they put up, I do want to rag on them, but I don't need to rag about them in this segment of this show. But they just put up something that I feel is anti-gun because it's basically a demeaning, nagging, irrelevant, unnecessary nag. There's no other way to put it, to gun owners from NSSF, a company that I'm a member of, and I go to SHOT Show, so I'm supporting them every single year for 17 years or whatever the hell it's been now. So I guess not 17 years, 12 years, 13 years. So I'm fine with the company in the most part. I like what they do for the industry, but they need to get their head out of advocacy because they suck at it really bad. They have this ad out there that says, you're a gun owner, and it's seriously, I'm saying it in this tone. I'm not even being sarcastic. This is literally the tone of the commercial. You're a gun owner, or like, you're a gun owner now, so remember to lock your gun up, dumbass, because guns are super dangerous, and it's got to be locked up, so lock it up, you idiot. And we know that we're gun owners, and we have the most dangerous items in the world, and we lock them up. And they could have spent just as much time and effort making a commercial that says, there's 300 million people in this country, and some people say there's 360 million guns. And guess what? No accidents, very little, insignificant number of accidents, very few, even a smaller portion of them are with children. This is done through education. This is done through competence. Thank you, gun owners, for being awesome and not needing any kind of legislation. Just by being competent individual people, you've brought in the face of innumerable guns, you've brought gun accidents and deaths down. Bravo. And if you want to buy a gun lock or whatever, go do it. That would have been much better use of their money and a better message for the world. And then it would have looked like we're patting each other on the back instead of one of our main organizations nagging at us that we need to put our guns in our safes, which is unnecessary because we've got gun accidents going down to the lowest levels we've ever had. So it's ridiculous to the way they did it. And anyway, there's no ban, there's no boycotting or anything. There's no point to boycott them because they're doing good work for the most part. They just, I guess I did rant about it, but I didn't mean to.
I was just curious because I had never heard someone having that stance of going like, wow, yeah, they're being kind of annoying.
They're being worse than annoying. They're creating this perception that guns are so dangerous when they're not. And
as well as
shit that doesn't need to be stirred up. There's no shit to be stirred up. They're adding shit to the water and then saying, look at all this shit that's stirred up. Like, it's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
And it gives a perception that this big gun organization has to nag the owners of firearms to lock them up, as if we're not already doing that if we have children around and stuff. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it would be like the food industry saying, we know a lot of you cook at home, and that's okay. You know, we're okay with that. But realize that you have children, you idiots, and put those knives into drawers. Don't just leave them laying around the floor. Put them into drawers that are higher up in the cabinet so the kid can't get them. Idiot.
Don't let your children play on the stove while you're cooking.
Yeah, that's not a monkey bars. It's an oven, dummy.
Oh, man, that was one of my favorite games as a child. It was called Hot Seat. You turn on one of the burners and then you guess which one's on. Anyways, yeah, okay. I think that's pretty good on this topic.
We solved it. You're welcome. So
we definitely did.
All right, so we'll move on to, I don't know, what do we want to move on to? The next topic or is one of the daily things? Well, the audience know that you got to do work today, and hopefully you did some homework, but Bob is supposed to do the gun of the day. He didn't want to do it this week, so instead he threw that responsibility off onto the rest of us. We all had to pick our guns of the days, and today you all got to pick your gun that you would wear to your daughter's wedding. And what Bob picked, something obnoxious, the biggest guns on the planet, 500 Magnum or something, revolver. A gun that he had to strap over his back. Probably he's going to put a tripod on it. He was a big advocate of that earlier. Or bipod. Anyway, then what? I forgot what Dano had. Something like a python. I pretty much picked a python that I would give to the son-in-law, and then Smeggy was going to engrave everybody's name on a CZ.
Yes, a shiny CZ, and have like their names and the dates and all that. And that I basically stole your idea as far as like the whole wedding gift kind of thing.
Except instead of getting a gun,
but I didn't do a revolver. I did a cool gun.
Instead of a gun that's going to increase in value and be cherished, you're like a little bit of a dick. Like, here, I care about you joining my family, but it's on a CZ. So
yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, why not just get a Glock and use a hot?
Because Glocks are dumb and CZs are awesome.
Wood carving kits and just do your engraving yourself on the.
Oh my god! You know what? I don't know why everyone hates my idea so much. We didn't give everyone else crap for their things.
Yeah, they did.
Bob brought up a noxious gun to the wedding. A gun that's going to scare children.
That's the thing. Bob brought a gun because he doesn't like his future son-in-law. At least that's what he was hypothesizing. Because he only brought it to scare the guy or whatever, right?
Oh,
well, daughter, so he knows that he's not going to like the son-in-law. That's a given. We don't have daughters, so what the hell do we know?
Yeah, I have a daughter, so this is why, right? Because you're never going to like your son-in-law because he's going to want to do things to your daughter that are disgusting.
Yeah,
my father-in-law liked me, so
we're going to have this theoretical son-in-law that sits and like sleeps in a separate bed from our daughters. Like a big, what do they call that? Like what's that thing called when they would bring all the bounty or whatever, the duty? What was that called?
I don't know.
Or no, the daughter has to stuff.
I just want him to be absolutely terrified of me so that, he never even thinks ever laying a hand on me. That's all.
Well, Pants on the Gun Channel side is saying he'd wear a high point in protest. William saying a Colt vest pocket, classy and concealable, perfect for weddings and divorces.
Oh, very nice.
Is that going to be next week's topic? Is what's your open carry gun for your divorce hearing?
They don't let you carry a gun in court, unfortunately.
That's probably the one time that I would probably like agree with that. That's probably a good idea. They don't let people do that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with it too.
But anyways, okay, so
What have we got the most votes for? Did we even get any?
We only got a couple. I got a Remington TAC 14. Some kind of road warrior type of thing, I guess. Show up in jeans and a dirty V neck or V neck tee. I don't know what. Oh, dowry. That's what I was thinking of. Thanks. Yeah, but yeah, the daughter has to bring that. So no more dowries. No more dowries. Once you got the boy, then you expect one. Anyway, we're not getting any other suggestions on the gun channel side, and just the one on the YouTube side.
I'm really surprised nobody said, "Oh, I'm a traditionalist. It's going to be a double-barrel shotgun, and I'm just going to walk behind the bride and groom." You know, traditional shotgun wedding.
Now, does that have to be she's pregnant or no?
Basically, if you're carrying a shotgun, they're going to think she is. So, be one way to really piss your daughter off.
nothing says welcome to a loving family like I'm gonna pretend like you knocked my daughter up and force you to be here.
Ruin her. Yeah. She planned her whole life on or whatever. Her special day.
Yeah, I'd do that, except the repercussions would last forever.
Probably. Then Pants says another folder AK. Raphael says PPK.
Well,
you know, PPKs. That's I like that answer because that's classy.
You're only gonna see
well, in the Middle East, it's quite common that everybody's got AKs because then after the wedding they go shoot them up in the air.
Yeah, no, I don't do that here.
That's a common occurrence over there.
And Mr. Wright says a Subaru Super Shorty. I don't know. They're kind of clunky compared to those TAC 14s, though. TAC 14s are smooth. They only hold the same 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Robbie's pointing to the whatever you call the Subaru looking. Actually, it's more like the TAC 4. I guess I can just screen share. That's easier to try to describe it. So basically, what is it? Zoom in? The basically the Mossberg Cruiser thing or whatever it's called, Shockwave with a
drum.
Yeah, it's a 10-round Knox drum. So that drum can be released with that little thingy there. It's not huge, it's big, but it's probably the most effective way to get 10 rounds into a shotgun. And they're super strong and solid, and they everything. And then you have to pump this fucker. But so it's, yeah, I guess it's basically a Shockwave, except with the drum on it.
Mm-hmm.
Be a little bit big.
A little funky, but it's slung over your shoulder up there.
Clover saying he wanted to carry shotgun, but was asked, but she asked for something stainless. So you guys picked his Taurus 1911, and that's what went down. So you got to remember what she wants. That's true.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna be paying for it for the rest of your damn life.
But that would be kind of cool is actually to be wearing a matching pair of pistols and go one to each. One to the groom, one to the bride, you know. His and hers, maybe, you know, stainless 45s or something like that. Well, I would go stainless.
You're saying the bride should wear a stainless 45?
Yeah, well, yeah.
All right. Well,
women can shoot 45s. They don't recoil that bad.
So normally we do a gun of the day. We're about picks a gun of the day. This week, though, we did a little bit differently. So hopefully everybody was entertained by that. And thanks for the suggestions there. I don't know what we're going to do as far as a winner. I don't know if there is a winner. So we'll move on.
I don't know if there needs to be a winner. Let's just say those are the guns of the day.
Yeah.
I like that idea.
So we can move on to the movie of the day. So everybody's seen, we try to talk about a gun-related movie every day. this week. I forgot who sent them in. We're going off of an email, and the movie of the day is The Accountant with what's his face from other movies, Daredevil, and then
Ben Affleck. He's a dick, but
he's a whatever. He's sort of a weirdo. He's like an accountant technically, but then he's like also kind of like Reacher or something. Not really Reacher. He's kind of like Wick, I guess, a little bit, except with a rifle. And pretty neat movie. I really liked it, actually. I think it was a different movie, and there was a whole bunch of those action movies coming out from all these actors in Hollywood. Everybody had to make their own like Reacher, Wick type of movie, and instead of just being the same old, I think this one did a pretty decent job of being a completely different plot than I've ever seen before.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting, just in the whole concept of it. He was an autistic kid who was really good with numbers, but then that also transitioned into being really good at shooting and fighting and stuff like that. It's kind of a weird concept, but
yeah, then he exploits both of those, and he becomes like the accountant for the mob and stuff. So he's an accountant. It's a dangerous thing, but it works out for him. So kind of a cool movie. Did you see it, Smeggy?
Yeah, I've seen it. I like it.
All right, so
yeah, if it wasn't. What are you giving it, Smeggy?
I'm going to give it 2 thumbs up because I found it entertaining.
Yep, I'm giving it 2.
Even though I went to the theater, I saw it in theaters actually when I was out of town for work. Just, some of the guys I worked with were like, hey, let's like go to the movie because we were out of town for 6 months. It gets boring. And I now know never to go to the movie with this guy again because he's a talker and I can't stand that. But there was a scene where it shows a bunch of guns, and as loud as we're talking right now, the dude goes, "Hey Dave, is that what your gun closet looks like?" And I just was like, "Oh my god!" First off, shut up, because now everyone in the theater knows that I'm a gun dude. But it's like I said, "No, I wish." That was my response. But I whispered it real quiet instead of talking loudly.
Yeah, don't you hate those people?
Were you worried that somebody was going to follow you back to your hotel for another 3 or 4 weeks, and then follow you to LA, and then follow you back to San Diego, and then follow you home on a plane, and then follow you home, and then look in your closet?
Yes. Actually, I was worried they were just going to pickpocket me and then call their friends in Michigan and say, "Hey, go to this address. No one's home."
You know what? I'll bet you actually did think that, though.
It would be a thing. Or they could scan you with some sort of app on their phone and
That's true.
Driver's license or something that way. Yeah. That'd be pretty. I'd be concerned about that too.
Yeah.
It was more, I was just like, oh geez, quit talking in the movie theater. But for some reason no one yelled at us or got mad. So I guess if that part worked out okay.
Yeah. I'm actually only going to give it 1 thumbs up, not because of the movie, but because I just can't stand the actor.
All right.
See, Ben Affleck for me, I mean, whatever you gave it, whatever you felt like giving it, but I think he definitely has some movies where he is kind of unbearable, but then he has others that he actually is really freaking good in. So I give him credit for half his movies he's actually pretty good.
He's anti-gun though. How can you like someone who's so hypocritical that he'll make a ton of money making a movie where he does nothing but shoot guns, and then goes and says, "But people shouldn't have guns"?
Because boycotting's not activism, so I can divorce my entertainment factor from how much the person's a dick in real life.
I don't know. I kind of believe in that. If I don't like the person's personal views, I really don't like to actually give them any money.
I think I'm going to go down to 1 thumb for the same reason, because that's true. And I just don't watch the movies that he sucks in, I guess, because I don't usually mind him in movies, but I don't like how he gets in there and acts like he's holier than thou with his whole stupid anti-gun thing. And I don't think it's because he even cares. I think it's just because he's one of them people that's going to do whatever is cool because he wants to speak.
He's very much, he follows the Hollywood crowd, right? Whatever they're for, he's for, whatever they're against, he's against. Yeah, he's just yeah.
All right, so that was our movie of the day. We do have some coming up next week that are a little more not as mainstream, or at least older. So we got The Man and the Gun, which says Redford. So Robert Redford, probably. The Old Man and the Gun is Monday. Death Wish is Tuesday. It's a good one. The Wild Bunch on Wednesday. Bulletproof Monk is Thursday. And then The Killer with Chu Yun Fat. So it's an older movie from, like, I think middle 80s. It's a pretty good one. It was one of the beginning of the Gung Fu movies, really. And I think we one of that actor's first movies. And if you're not familiar with the name, you might recognize him when you watch the movie. So The Killer, Bulletproof Monk, The Wild Bunch, Death Wish, and The Old Man and the Gun.
I'm going to have to review some of those.
All right, so I guess take us into the next segment, which will be our third segment for the day. Before we do, we should probably take a break and hawk something once in a while. We never really talk about how we fund the show, because there is no funds for the show because we don't make any money. So let's talk about Patreon. We do have a Patreon account. You're welcome to check it out. I could probably go over there and screen share it for everybody. Eventually I'll be over there. A couple more clicks. But none of us are doing this to make a income or anything, but we would like to be able to take the show to whatever the next level, quote unquote, would be. So I think I can screen share now, and we will take a look over at our Patreon page. So one way that we can work with our audience to enhance the show is to set up a Patreon page. It's basically a way you can go in and support us financially. And you can do that on the month. We do it on a monthly basis, so you pledge anything from $1 up, and we're happy to have a whole bunch of people thrown in $1, because eventually that would accumulate and allow us to upgrade some things and work on polishing the show a little bit. So we had some various levels in the past because I'm going to be out on the road, and that's the next level of the show. The next stage for the show is to literally take the show on the road and get out to new gun shops every day. So as we do that, we've turned off the patch of the month, but we'll be turning that back on in the future. And anybody that wants to keep up on what we're doing or participate in the show and more level, or with more, spend more time with the show, we send out a Patreon link, or a pre-show link to our Patreon supporters. Quite often, you can see here's a bunch of them that were links going out maybe an hour sometimes before the show. And you're welcome to join in on Saturdays, the second Saturday of the month. We get together and do the scheduling show, and same thing, we'll go over here and we'll post a link to it, so anybody who's participating from anywhere from $1 up will have access to that. And of course, that you're helping to support directly this content, and we don't have a bunch of advertisers. We can speak freely, and we enjoy it that way, and we're not super ambitious to try to quit our day jobs or anything. But on the other hand, it would be great to be able to polish it up a little bit. So if you're interested, that's the Patreon account. So there's a link to it on every single show, but I'll throw it in the comments here as well.
For sure. Well, look at the when if people think about the amount of time we actually spend on this, there should be some value to it to people if they like listening. So.
All right. Well, with that, I guess we'll go into the alternate gun topic this today, and it is, I think we kind of almost talked about this a little bit. Securing your home, electronic / physical / people and dogs. What are some pros and cons to each system?
Cons to the dog is they eat a lot.
And they poop all the time, but they're not the best, but they're good with conjunction with people, because they alert the people and then
right.
Or aid the people. By themselves, though, dogs aren't necessarily the best thing, I guess.
No.
I like people. Whenever I go out of town, I have friends that'll just stay at the place, and there's human beings here. It's the best thing you can have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always good. Electronic stuff is fine. I mean, I've got cameras that have motion detectors, and they give me alerts on my smartphone. So if somebody's in my gunroom area, I'll get an alert on the phone and I can see it on the camera or on the phone, you know, what the camera's seeing. Those are handy and they're not expensive. And that, you know, at that point, then you can either phone your local phone your local law enforcement, tell them somebody's in my house, or, you know, in my, messing around with my firearms. You want to get there and stop them before I do.
I've got an alarm system, and I mean, it's nothing fancy like that. It's just the service or whatever, and you know, the codes or what, all that. And then, I mean, I've had a couple of times where you open the door wrong or somebody comes in and they don't realize this procedure or something, and they call you, but never had it where the police came out yet. You're not talking about that kind of system, you're just talking about like the kind you buy yourself to yourself?
Right, yeah, it's basically, it's just a camera with a motion sensor that has, uses your wireless internet. It'll actually, you can set it up to use basically a cell phone service, and it will actually phone or send an alert to your phone, like, you know. And once you've got that alert on your phone, you can actually go to it comes with your own kind of little website, and you can go there and see what the camera's seeing, and it's got a motion sensor built in, so as soon as it senses motion, it turns on and notifies you and sends you the picture, so you can see, okay, somebody's in my gun room, somebody's in my house, or whatever. And then from there, it's up to you to, you know, call the police or whatever, you know. So it doesn't automatically alert the police, but it does alert you. It's just, you know, kind of handy. And like I say, it was like the whole system was $89 for one camera. So not expensive. Now, I like the idea of like having a full alarm system.
Yeah, I like that, because then you just know all the windows and doors, you know, are rigged, so you basically can be pretty comfortable not being near the stuff. And then as long as there's people who understand how to turn it on and off, then worst cases, there's, you know, somebody 15 minutes away or something.
Yeah, like a tree comes through your window, sets off your alarm.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's somebody who can just drive back and figure out what it is. Because yeah, you just add them to the phone, or you add their phone number to the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
All right, is anything to add? We're not getting much from the YouTube side at all on this topic, and actually 17 is saying dogs are better than anything you mentioned. I don't have a problem with dogs, but like I say, they're not perfect. They're
not.
Well, I don't know, because actually, you're right, they're not perfect, but I forget where I saw this, but it was one of those, I think, like, you know, they survey people in jail or whatever, and they say, like, what do you avoid, or blah, 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 whatever, blah, all that stuff. And that was one of the big things for the burglary people, was that
I think it was.
if
I think it
they're
was
dog, they
one.
move on to the next house, right? Because they're opportunistic or whatever, and most of them just kind of move on. Even though I do remember seeing what's that? Was that one where the people break into someone's house and then they like upgrade their security system, and you know, they film it or whatever, something thief or whatever. Anyways, that dude, I remember he broke into a house with a dog, and honestly, most dogs, just like they are when they meet like new people, he just started talking to it and like clapping his hands a little bit or whatever. He took one of his squeaky toys and threw it in down the hall, and then he closed the door. And he just locked the dog in the like laundry room or whatever. Like, unless you have an actual trained attack dog, most dogs might bark and stuff if you're not, listen again, if you're not home, as far as I'm saying. And the burglar will probably just be able to get the dog, like, not to bite him and go run away.
Right. But most, like you say, when they've reviewed those, most burglars, if you've got deadbolts, they'll go on to the next house because the next house might not have them. If you've got a sign that says you've got an alarm, they'll go to the next house. They're going to go to the
I've heard they laugh at those signs, though. Because people will just put those signs up. or put the sticker
Oh,
up.
yeah. Yeah.
So I've
Yeah,
heard they learn to actually like figure out if you actually have one or not. But
well, yeah, they know companies are real and whatnot.
right.
But then
But yeah, dogs I
dogs
heard
are
were a pretty
barking.
good one. But again, they're not perfect.
Yeah.
Nothing's perfect. If you got ninja assassins
No.
coming after you, they're getting in no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if somebody targets you, there's nothing you can do. All anything is going to do is deter the average criminal. A determined criminal, you can have bars in the windows, you can have everything. They're still going to get in. That's why you want a good quality gun safe. And even that's not a guarantee, but it is going to slow them down. So if you've got the dog, the alarm, a good gun safe, you know, and people that are going to come and check it out, you've probably done the best you can.
Yeah. Well, Clover's out there saying a lot of times they'll kick in your door just to see if you have an alarm, and then if like they hear the beeping, then they'll run away. Either that or they'll break a window, and then like if they don't hear anything with that, then they'll like kick the door in or whatever. But I don't know.
Yeah.
No, it's
And that's why the dog's handy, right? Because as soon as they do that, the dog is just like, and they're like, I don't want to get bit.
yeah.
And
I don't know.
The gun channel side, the dog woke him up. Somebody parked around the backyard with the back door. So yeah, that's the kind of thing where I think a dog in conjunction with people is perfect, because you're not, they got all them senses and they're worried about everything all the time. So nothing's going to get past them for the most part, unless your dog's a jerk. And then nobody knows from the other side of the door what that dog's all about yet, and that's helpful. But I just guess I wouldn't want to rely on just that, because there's just too many ways that dogs say, like, unless a dog's really an attack dog and he knows to stay and protect what he's supposed to,
Right.
and guard it.
Yeah, not eat that ball of hamburger somebody just rolled in that's full of weeds or something. Yeah.
Not to get too much stuff, but yeah, exactly. So, and then those dogs aren't typically your like hang out with the family types of dogs, unless you're really good at keeping them on point.
Right. Yeah, you have to, like, those kind of dogs need a lot of handling.
And the other thing is, I can't depend on the dog because I like to bring the dogs with me. So, I like to have the electronics based, mixed with eyeballs, and then just having good relationships with all your neighbors. If you have good relationships with your neighbors, in a situation where the neighbors can see your place, obviously not everybody's like that, but you know what I mean. Even if it's not a place where they can see, those are the places where you typically have better relationships with your neighbors, and then they're gonna wonder why some strange truck is driving in and out.
Yep.
Yeah, we had that at our place up north for a while. The guy across the street, especially when we were building the house. Now, I truly believe the vast majority of people are like, oh, I've been driving by this property for years. Now all of a sudden there's a house. I wonder what that's all about. So I think a lot of them are just kind of like nosy up north people. They're just curious. But he, for a long time, he actually was a retired sheriff, and he would see someone drive down our driveway. He'd grab his sidearm, jump in his Jeep, come over there, and just be like, hey, how's it going, everyone? And then kick him out. So that was really cool to have that that relationship with him.
Oh, for sure.
It was although there was one time that my cousin went over there, or my dad's cousin, and he came over and was like, hey, what are you doing here? And this guy, my cousin, not knowing him, kind of bluffed him, was like, well, I'm the homeowner. And then he, knowing that my cousin wasn't the homeowner, goes, well, that's funny because I'm the homeowner. And so they were both kind of bluffing each other. And then they realized, oh, you know so-and-so? Yeah, it's my cousin, blah, blah, blah. And they started talking, and, it was fine.
But your cousin felt like an ass, though, after he realized, oh, this guy knows I'm not the homeowner.
Well, no, because, I mean, the other guy would have felt the same way. He honestly, you just said, hey, I really appreciate it, because that's part of it. His mom grew up on that property. So that's why he was going there. He was kind of checking out the old farmhouse, checking out the new one, all that kind of stuff. So he's like, yeah, I really appreciate you looking after my family property. That's cool.
Yeah.
Now they're making fun of booby traps and stuff. Lots aren't legal to leave a lethal trap for whatever reasons. I guess it's illegal pretty much everywhere. But what Bob was talking about with the cameras, that's basically as not as effective. It doesn't stop the person in their tracks lethally, which seems like it should be appropriate. But anyway, it does. It could ID them unless they're that savvy that they're looking around for cameras. Especially nowadays with all the hidden spy camera tech for what do you call them? Nanny monitors and shit like that. You should be able to set up something aimed at your expensive stuff, and then worst case scenario, somebody gets in, you know, there's some footage of them from a couple of different angles even that what gets distributed.
Well, and a lot of those stream those videos out to a cloud or whatever, right? So you can check in on it. So even if they do see it, like even if it's not hidden, it's just like a big camera and they like smash it or something, it's not like there's a memory card in there. The data is stored on the cloud or whatever, so you can go back and pull it up whenever you need to.
I'm just thinking like at Bob's place, he's got all those stuffed unicorns and things. So like he could put one in the eyeball of a stuffed unicorn and they'd never, it's like looking at ET in that closet, you know, like it just would blend in and they would never know which one, if one of them even had a camera.
Yeah, that's too true. I have so much crap, and yeah, just piling it all into one corner. It's pretty much yeah. They'll be lucky to find anything. Just looks like a pile of junk.
Well, so what was the topic? What securing your home, electronic, physical, people, and another way is to just hide your stuff. So we kind of talked about this the other day, or maybe it was in a different chat, but it came up as a topic at some point here in the not too distant past. And there's books out there. I got to assume there's websites or something, even what YouTube channels maybe even devoted to it. But there's all kinds of interesting ways to hide stuff in your own house. So something as simple as you know, a wooden box, a simple crude box that you put in the wall, and you put a vent register in front of it. You know, not too many criminals are busting open every vent looking for stuff in the walls.
Oh, very true. Yeah.
So there's all kinds of interesting ways you can get stuff put away so that even if they do get in there, then all they're going to do is find a bunch of nothing and leave because they're boring. All your good stuff's put away.
Yeah, but now what if it's a criminal that then looks around and goes, well, you know, that's too many vents. Like, that would be too much airflow for this room. How come this room has 3 different vents?
Then you're pretty much screwed because he's going to figure everything out.
Then they'll figure it out. So, you know, someone who's very skilled with airflow and that type of stuff.
There aren't that many criminals, though, that are very smart. That's why they're criminals.
They're going to fire up the AC and then run some kind of flow device meter tester thing.
I'd be like, wait a minute, there's only 10,000 CFM in this room. There shouldn't be 4 vents. That's too many.
They set
One
up
of them's fake.
They set up an elaborate system of probes with tripods and stuff, and then isolate which vent isn't pulling vacuum. It happens. That's why it's another reason to have that video camera system Bob's talking about.
That's why I have a mask that looks exactly like Bob's face.
All right, with that, I think we've solved that one. So there's probably other stuff we could talk about. Clover had a good point that people probably don't want to talk about their home security situations, but it's an interesting topic, so I don't know who came up with it, but we could potentially talk about it again. We already mentioned that we'll be scheduling stuff this Saturday, so join us. Give us some suggestions. I'm looking at today in history, and it's nothing all that super interesting, obviously, and honestly. I guess one thing down here was the first in 1969. Today in 1969, the first U.S. units to withdraw from South Vietnam leave Saigon. And today in 1981 was the day Sandra Day O'Connor became the first woman to serve on the Supreme Court. She's kind of neat. She's from Arizona, so I don't know. She's a Democrat or is she conservative?
I'm not sure.
Not either.
Actually, wouldn't the guy from Arizona know that, or should he?
Maybe I should. And I know I've looked at her stuff, and I think I respect her. She's pretty neat. She was born in El Paso. She spent her childhood on a ranch in southeastern Arizona. Then she lived with her grandmother in El Paso and got a formal education. At 16, she went to Stanford, and in 1950 received her bachelor. She continued education at Stanford Law, graduating, whatever that means, in 2 years rather than the usual 3. She was a valedictorian. Later, she served on the law review. She graduated 3rd in her class of 102, so she was competent. She got married, had 3 kids. Her husband died in 2009. She graduated from law school and applied for jobs at a bunch of law firms. Nobody would hire a woman. This was back in the 50s, I think. So she finally offered to work without pay for San Mateo County, California. She didn't get an office. She shared a common area with a secretary. Her husband was drafted. She joined him in Germany and served as a civilian lawyer for the Quartermaster Corps. After a 5-year hiatus from practicing law in order to raise her first 2 children, she became an assistant attorney general of the state of Arizona until the governor appointed her to fill a vacancy in the state Senate. She won 2 more terms and became the first woman in the United States to become a majority leader in a state government. She is a member of the Republican Party. In '81, Reagan nominated her for Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, and fulfilling a campaign promise he'd made to bring a woman to the Supreme Court. Let's see. Both liberal and conservative had concerns about how she'd vote. Generally, she voted with the court's conservative faction, but occasionally sought to limit the scope of some of the court's decision. She cast the deciding vote in a number of predominant cases, and at present, she is a board member of some place in Philadelphia. So anyway, that's a quick summary of it. I've read some more stuff that concentrated more on her time as a rancher and stuff. I just thought that was kind of neat, growing up as a rancher in the 50s, and then turning into a lawyer and becoming the Supreme Court justice, the first one for females. I think that's pretty cool.
This is a very impressive career.
And then Ringo Starr was born today. He's one of the Beatles.
Wasn't that some pop group way back when?
One of the rock and roll groups, Bob, with the long hair.
Yeah, that's it. Long hair.
All right, well, I guess that's pretty much the show. It's episode 350. We'll be back tomorrow with the scheduling show at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And we'll schedule the show off for a few more weeks, another month or so. I don't know. I think Smeggy's not going to be around for a bit, so we'll say bye to Smeggy for a while. Thanks for hosting the show today. And it'll probably be me and Bob for a bit, with Dano jumping in and out. I think he said he's got some things he's going to, well, I don't know. Hopefully he'll be doing what he planned on doing. So I'll be hopefully in the vehicle here before too long, so the show should drastically change, and hopefully for the better. We appreciate everybody again that participates in the Patreon. I appreciate the people that participate on the website's Patreon. You're literally keeping the lights on for us here. And hopefully everything starts to become what we originally envisioned for the show, with the addition of driving around and checking out new gun shops every day. Having a bunch more interviews, hopefully, and guns of the day that are guns at gun shops and stuff like that. We'll be back on Monday otherwise with episode 351. We'll be talking about social media and shooting events, and we'll talk about the week, and let's see, got all kinds of stuff coming up. I'm not sure if Clover Tack's going to do his show tonight. I'm sure he will, actually. So Clover Tack will probably be the next show coming up over on Gun Channels. Later on, Edge will probably do a show, I would assume. Then it'll bring us to Saturday morning. Travis does the Caliber Corner. And then Rick will do Rick's Life as I See It. I think at the same time we're doing ours. Maybe we shouldn't do ours right on top of Rick. And then Sunday, Matt does a show in the morning, something like Coffee and Chat or something like that. And then I think Yankee does one in the afternoon on Sundays a lot. I don't know if he posted over on Gun Channels. And then Yoder, Texas will usually post Come and Talk It over on Gun Channels, which is a radio show out of Texas that's pretty decent. Clover Tech says his show will be in about an hour or so. So it'll start over on Gun Channels. Just go to gunchannels.com/CloverTack, or check out on the main page. We'll put a link to it. Otherwise, we'll see you back here on Monday. Do you guys have anything else?
They're just saying like, share, subscribe, give us your thumbs. And everyone have a good weekend and a good next week if I don't see you. I'm hoping to be able to jump in, but I never know.
For sure, man. Well, I guess I'll wrap it up. We like to end our show with a quote, as everybody knows. Before that, even though Smeggy kind of stole my thunder, I want to remind everybody, please like, share, subscribe. Sharing these podcasts help gets the word out, so please do. Anyway, our quote today is by Theodore Roosevelt. The only man who never makes a mistake is a man who never does anything. Very true words. And on that note, I'd like to say thanks everybody for watching and listening. We'll see you all on Monday.
The guys and gals of gunwebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching gunwebsites.com.